I've been told the secret of beating the loudness war is to go with vinyl. I've been hearing this even before my first loudness war video. Is this true? We'll examine the evidence. A number of years ago I tried buying vinyl almost exclusively, but I quickly discovered that new releases had something very wrong with them. Give a listen. It's distorted, there's no punch, and this record's only been played twice. Certainly it should sound better than this, shouldn't it? You might say, well, this is just a bad example, but all my new releases sounded this way. What you hear is more important than what you see, but the visuals do give you some insight into what's happening behind the scenes. Compare what you just saw and heard against the 1979 pressing of Tom Petty, Refugee. For kicks and giggles, let's look at the 2010 remaster of the same song. Up front you might say the vinyl and the CD versions sound a lot alike, but it seems like the CD version lost something. It's more harsh, there's less impact. It only took a little bit of research and some confirmation from other mastering engineers to find that earlier vinyl was mastered for vinyl, but new vinyl is mastered for CD and then modified for vinyl. With so few people buying any music at all, forget vinyl. It's just not cost effective to have an album mastered twice, especially when it's such a time-consuming, expensive process to master for vinyl. In order to shed some light on the subject, we'll have to listen to a mix that hasn't been mastered yet. I spend the rest of my life so honestly. Say, please don't go away, no. It's not a bad mix, but the vocals are a little solvent and there's a lot of deep bass. Both are attributes that vinyl doesn't like. A modern CD master would look something like this, heavily clipped and limited in order to get the hottest possible signal on playback. So what happens if the band wants to release this on vinyl? Without going into too much detail, excessive high-end or low-end on the lacquer master wreaks havoc with playback. A high-pass filter is added to keep the grooves from getting too wide during cutting. All that clipping creates false harmonics, so a low-pass filter is added as well. There's still a little too much bass, so the low band is reduced slightly. All this filtering shifts the spectral balance and causes phase rotation, which is easier to see on the square wave. In this case, the cutoff point was put at 60 Hz, and this is a 100 Hz wave, so just because you're not filtering out that frequency doesn't mean it doesn't have an effect. Getting back to this song, what's commonly called an acceleration limiter is added to tame sibilants and other excessive high frequencies to avoid distortion. If there's too much stereo spread in the bass, that can also be reduced as well, but that's not a problem in this case. We can now see and hear the result before it's been cut to a lacquer master. The average level hasn't changed, but it can no longer be normalized nearly as hot as it was previously. There's no more dynamics than there was, and in fact there's less dynamics in the high frequencies. All the distortion is still there, it's just harder to see. I haven't even gotten into what happens electromechanically between the cutter and playback. Nevertheless, the analysis tools have been fooled into thinking there's dynamics where there aren't. Even if you have a flat transfer done, emphasis is added to hide noise during playback, so any previous advantage and loudness has been lost during the cut. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate vinyl when it's done well, but producers and record labels need to bear in mind that the person cutting the lacquer master is the mastering engineer, and they need to be sent raw mixes just like the person mastering the CD. Sadly, since proper mastering for vinyl can add several $1,000s to the ultimate price tag of an album, combined with the fact that generally only a few thousand copies of vinyl are sold, as well as being a very misunderstood medium, this often isn't done, and the same master used to make the CDs is used to make the vinyl. I hope this video can help vinyl enthusiasts and musicians alike make better decisions going into the future. Thank you.